Hi there, and welcome to A Song of Ice and Fire Explained. This is a video series where we explain the massive conspiracies going on in A Song of Ice and Fire. If you haven't seen our previous videos, we suggest watching those first. So let's continue on with Eddard 5, A Game of Thrones. This chapter is 3,240 words long, and is told from the perspective of Eddard Stark, who was fostered by Lord Jon Arryn at the Eyrie with Robert at the age of 8. In this chapter, Ned speaks with Grand Maester Pycelle about Lord Jon Arryn's final days, finds Arya training to be a water dancer on the steps of the Tower of the Hand, and is visited by Littlefinger, who has found 4 of Jon Arryn's household remaining in King's Landing. Ned meets with Grand Maester Pycelle in the stifling heat that has covered the city. Pycelle talks about how the Smallfolk claim that the last year of summer is the hottest. The Grand Maester goes on to say that he does not believe this, noting that King Maker's summer was even hotter and broke in the 7th year, leading to a short autumn and a terribly long winter. Then Pycelle digresses about being a young man, forging his maester's chain during the reign of Maker. Finally, Pycelle remembers that Ned asked about Jon Arryn, and explains that Lord Arryn was melancholy but healthy, then suddenly became ill. He had asked Pycelle about a book, and Pycelle remembers noting that something was troubling him. The next day, Lord Arryn was twisted over in pain, unable to get out of his bed. Ned mentions that he has heard that Pycelle sent away Lord Arryn's maester. Pycelle states that this was because he felt Maester Coleman did not understand the older body and was endangering Lord Arryn's life with purging potions. Ned asks if Lord Arryn had any final words. Pycelle responds that Jon Arryn called out the name Robert several times, but does not know if he was talking about the king or his son. His last words were whispered to Leesha Arryn and King Robert. The seed is strong. Next, Ned asks if there was anything unnatural about the death, and follows up by asking if Pycelle had seen anything like this illness before. Pycelle states that he has seen more of illness than he would like to remember, and that every illness is different and yet alike. Eventually, Pycelle says that Jon Arryn's death was no stranger than any other. When Ned mentions that Leesha thinks otherwise, Pycelle says that grief can derange minds, and Leesha's mind was not the best before, seeing enemies in every corner. When Ned suggests that Jon Arryn could have been poisoned, the Grand Maester rebuffs him, asking who would do such a thing. Ned replies that he has heard poison is a woman's weapon. Pycelle replies that poison is the preferred weapon of women, cravens, and eunuchs. He continues by telling Ned that Varys was born a slave in Lys, and that Ned should not trust him. Ned scarcely needs reminding, as he already has a bad feeling about Varys. Ned excuses himself, but the Grand Maester halts him to offer any other service Ned may require. Eddard uses the opportunity to ask for the book Jon Arryn asked for. Pycelle says it is a ponderous tome of lineages that Ned would find boring. Ned insists he would like to see the book, in any case, and Pycelle promises to send it to him. On the way out, Ned also learns that Queen Cersei was not in King's Landing when Jon Arryn died. Pycelle's parting words are, "I am here to serve," leading Ned to think, yes, but who? On his return to the Tower of the Hand, Ned finds Arya on the steps, standing on one foot. When Ned asks what she is doing, she tells him that Syrio Forel says that a water dancer can stand on one toe for hours. Ned expresses his concern about her falling down the steps, but Arya states that a water dancer never falls. Then Arya asks if Bran will come to live with them now, and Ned responds that first he must grow stronger. Speaking of Bran, leads Ned to recall taking the girls to the Castle Godswood to offer their thanks when the news of Bran's recovery arrived. The girls had gone to sleep and dreamed of Bran while Ned stood vigil all night. While balancing on her leg, Arya asks about Bran's plans to be a knight of the Kingsguard. Ned admits that Bran will not become a knight, but he may become a lord, a councillor, an architect, an explorer, or even the High Septon, even while privately noting that Bran will never lie with a woman or father a son. When Arya asks if she can do any of these things, Ned says that she will marry a king and her sons will do these things. Arya replies that is what Sansa wants, not her. Later, Ned meets with Peter Baelish in his solar. Littlefinger, who is watching the Kingsguard practicing in the yard below, starts with small talk about who might win the tourney. This does not interest Ned at all, so he asks Littlefinger to get to the point. Ned cannot find it in himself to trust Littlefinger. Peter tells him that 4 of Jon Arryn's household are still in the city, which surprises Ned, who thought that all had gone back to the Eyrie with Lysa. Littlefinger reveals the names, which include Jon Arryn's squire, Sir Hugh of the Vale. He also reveals that Sir Hugh was knighted by the king after Lord Arryn died. Ned states he will send for them, but Littlefinger does not think this is wise and asks Ned to come to the window. Littlefinger identifies some of the spies among those outside his window. One is Varys's, the other is Cersei's. He tells Ned that there are others, and some even he does not know. He cautions Ned to send a man he trusts completely to question these people, rather than doing it himself. Even Varys cannot watch every man in Ned's service every hour of the day. As Littlefinger departs, Ned expresses his gratitude and says he was perhaps wrong to distrust him. Littlefinger fingers his beard and replies that distrusting him is the wisest thing Ned has done since he climbed down off his horse. And this is where Eddard 5, A Game of Thrones, ends. Ironically, this potboy gives Eddard all the clues he needs to solve who killed Jon Arryn. Sir Hugh had been brusque and uninformative, and arrogant as only a new made knight can be. The serving girl had at least been pleasant. She said Lord Jon had been reading more than was good for him, and that he was troubled and melancholy over his young son's fertility, and gruff with his lady wife. The potboy, now Cordwainer, had never exchanged so much as a word with Lord Jon, but he was full of oddments of kitchen gossip. The Lord was sending his boy to be fostered on Dragonstone. The Lord had visited a master armourer to commission a new suit of plate. The king's own brother had gone with him to help choose the design, the potboy said. No, not Lord Renly, the other one, Lord Stannis. So from this, after reading the book about to be provided by Grand Maester Pycelle, Ned could deduce that Jon was worried for his son and arguing with his wife Lysa about fostering him with Stannis, whom he was visiting armors with, despite the two never previously being close. We also see the first hints in this chapter that Pycelle is a Lannister crony and directly had a hand in killing Jon Arryn. Pycelle is super loyal to House Lannister. He convinces Aerys to open the gates to Tywin's army during Robert's rebellion, never betrayed any Lannister secrets, and even went to great lengths to cover them up. He testified against Marjorie, immediately sent for Kevin when Cersei was arrested by the Faith, and essentially did everything he could to further Lannister interests, despite Cersei, Jaime, and Tyrion all mistreating him. However, the reason why seems to be revealed in Jaime 1, A Feast for Crows, at Lord Tywin's funeral. Of all the mourners, Grand Maester Pycelle had seemed the most distraught. I have served 6 kings, he told Jaime after the second service, while sniffling doubtfully about the corpse. But here before us lies the greatest man I ever knew. Lord Tywin wore no crown, yet he was all a king should be. And that's about it for Eddard 5, A Game of Thrones. In the next video, we'll cover Jon 4 and continue from there. Now, here are the differences between the HBO TV show and book. Ned's talk with Maester Pycelle starts in the small council chamber after a meeting of the small council. In the book, Littlefinger tells Ned not only about Hugh, but about 3 other people who belonged to Jon Arryn's household. A kitchen girl, a stable hand who joined the city watch, and a potboy. Jory speaks with all of them. But only the potboy provides useful information. Meanwhile, in the show, there is only mention made of Sir Hugh of the Vale. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. If you want to see more of A Song of Ice and Fire Explained, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, when you get the chance, try out Fantasy Flight's A Game of Thrones board game, digital edition.